Hi, Martin. Can you hear us well?
I can hear you well, so I hope everyone can hear you well.
Thank you very much for the introduction. For the next 30 minutes, we have prepared about 10 slides where we would like to talk about basically what the IoT solutions are, how they work, where we can apply them in your business, and also some specific use cases from the real environment we're running currently to give you a more tangible feeling on them. And at the end, we will have a short Q&A session. I'm not sure how much we will manage, but we will share the contact details with you at the end as well. So you'll be able to reach out to us directly if you want to and set them, and we can discuss your use cases individually. So I'll dive in. When we think about IoT and sustainability, it might sound as an unusual connection of those two words. So what do we mean by that? I mean, IoT, in a way, from our perspective, we're trying to develop solutions which are really human-centric and developed around the needs to really solve an issue for us and make our everyday decision-making easier by the data we can collect from the IoT solutions. And the sustainability aspect, we are trying to develop the solutions so they are battery-powered, so they are non-invasive in a way for installation, so you don't need to plug in on your side, or you can use them mobile. And not need to do too many additional investments into infrastructure to deploy and scale. They're wireless and they're supporting circular activities. So by default, is reducing environmental impact. So that's what we mean by connecting IoT and sustainability, and hopefully it will become more apparent once we go through the presentation and the use cases in real world. We have a question prepared for everybody, if it works. No? Okay, so we probably need to move on. Oh, it is there. Can you everybody see the questions? Or Martin, can you see that?
I can see the question. Cool. It's here. I will not answer. Let's the participants answer.
Yeah. So basically, we would like to understand if you guys actually connect any IoT solutions or any digitalization with sustainability in general, and also if you based all your decisions only on your internal data, or if you're actually using currently any IoT data, which will help us to understand, maybe tailor the presentation to your answers. So if I may ask you to quickly respond to those. So we'll allow a few more seconds. I think can we call it out? Is it working? Martin, does it work, because it shows strange on our screen?
It should be. Yeah, we have the answers here.
Do you? So can we call them out? Because it seems like we can't.
I already see the results. Okay. Maybe Monica, can you share it, or I can share my screen? I don't know. It is like for the first question, do you make business decisions only based on the internal data sources from your company systems, or do you use also external data sources like IoT? And the yes is 55% and no is 45%. And for the second question, do you link business digital activities with sustainability? Yes is 64% and no is 36%.
Thank you very much for that, guys. Hopefully those who are not using sustainability yet will get a little inspired, and it's actually positive to see that it is happening already. So I will quickly continue in the presentation. So we can... Okay, a few facts and numbers, but I believe about digitalization that we have all seen those in some shape or form recently, as digitalization is really becoming a global buzzword, and probably every one of us has a different meaning behind it. But what, from my perspective, is a irrefutable fact is that over the last year and a half of turbulent COVID times, the digitalization, from my perspective, accelerated significantly. I think we're all experiencing our work life becoming much more remote and digital. Contrary to that, which is interesting, our personal family lives are getting much closer and personal, but it's for a different discussion. But our mobility has been restricted several times over the year and a half, and that's driving the acceleration of the circularity of the goods, and our expectations of the services of the delivery are increasing as well. At the same time, the customer behavior is changing rapidly, and everyone wants to understand now what the behavior will be, because the winners on the market will be those who can adapt pretty quickly to that. So the Internet of Things, from our perspective, could be seen as an opportunity, not a threat, because you're utilizing the latest technologies that can collect the data about what's happening with the products and people on the market, and convert them into data insight in real time, which is helping to make more informed decisions, internal efficiencies, which could be connected with cost. It could be with the transport material, staff planning, what guys from Blind Spot were discussing on a previous presentation, and also internal processes improvements. So I will now hand over to Adela, who will walk you through some of the applications across the product and customer journey.
Thank you for the work. So the constant progress and also the actual situation is the reason why the customer's expectations are always higher and higher. The circulation of goods, how Peter said, have accelerated and increased the need to efficiently scale the supply chain. On the other hand, it is about new behavior trends. For instance, the customer behavior significantly is influenced by COVID restriction, and it's more dependent right now on omnichannel. With that said, the data across the whole supply chain is becoming an important commodity for companies, because when a company can process the data and get insights from the data, they can get better overview and a huge competitive advantage. We as Adastra, we are not only focusing on one part of the supply chain, but we are end-to-end partner who is able to extract the valuable information from that data. It helps to create human-centric decisions. You can now monitor the complete product journey from raw materials through the manufacturing all the way up to the distribution, and also get insights from the customer journey, such as customer behavior trends or sales trends. And with that information, you are now able to make database decisions. We will talk it more later, but we also want to show you some case studies and show you some examples of applied IoT solutions to innovate across the selected areas of supply chain.
So when we talk how it works, really, basically it starts with the data collection, and I think IoT allows a lot of flexibility here. As you can see, it could be anything. The device could be your mobile, it could be a camera, it could be a simple sensor that will be just measuring the temperature or your GPS location. What is important, as we mentioned, that they are battery runs, so they are non-invasive, so you don't need to plug it anywhere at your end. We are aiming for battery lifetime in years for most of the devices. Of course, depends on the number of information, the size, and the frequency of information being sent. But we still, within the use cases we are doing on the market now, like reaching years in lifetime. What is important to understand is the use case, because based on the use case, we would apply the network and connectivity. It is, again, we have some flexibility here to reflect that. It's probably a separate topic that I could talk for the rest of the presentation, but again, based on a use case, we can select the right connectivity, delivering the results that we need. IoT platform is effectively a product on its own, because it basically securely process, store, and manage the data that we're getting transmitted wirelessly from all the devices. What's important here is the integration part, because again, the added value comes from connecting the data from your existing systems and sales data or marketing data or logistics data that you might have, together with the data that are generated from those smart devices from IoT. And last but not least, of course, it's about users' insight at the end of the day, because if we do not translate those data into proper information which are helping to make better decisions, it will be another report in your already cluttered data world. So, in ideal world, we will apply some artificial intelligence and predictive modeling to add the aspect of future thinking into your decisions. So it's about the decision making based on data. So that's how the solutions work, and we will dive into specific examples of the use cases now.
So now we would like to guide you through our supply chain data journey and show you a few customer stories. So we are now in manufacturing in the supply chain graph. So the first use case we would like to introduce to you is indoor positioning system. It's a technology that enables to digitalize any motion in any facility. We enhancing manufacturing and logistic processes with precise localization intelligent. Through the digitalization of the motion, we can digitalize any object moving and any object in motion in the facility. For example, forklifts, goods, employees, any material, etc. Monitoring and analyzing the movement can reduce, for example, the time to search for goods. It can help to find the bottlenecks. It can also, for example, reduce number of injuries at the workplace, and it can also improve the visibility of overall process. Now I will give a word to Peter, and he will continue in the product journey.
So Della was talking about how we monitor within the production process, but we want to monitor, of course, all the way from, let's say, the production, leaving the production all the way to the final customer. So the OneGuard solution has been developed effectively to be able to apply directly on the goods or products. Those are valuable or fragile, and almost like provide the full autobiography of your product from the production all the way to your final customer and whatever happened across the whole journey. Or it could be applied on a secondary packaging, which could be any pallet or a cage, container, or anything you can imagine in here. So what the aim is here, that applying on the secondary packaging should drive the circular solutions and the reusing of the packaging again and again. And for the products, it's again monitoring and being able to provide the full information from the production all the way to the customer. And what we try to basically monitor here is a localization. And again, we are trying to aim with the system to be able to survive and circulating in years. So the detection of the move, arrival or departure from your premises, so you can plan all your consequent activities accordingly and efficiently. Any inappropriate manipulation, so if the goods might have fallen down, somebody hit it from the side with a forklift, we can measure temperature, we can again set automatic notifications which will notify you about any incident being beyond the threshold that is acceptable. It could be a temperature, it could be a location where it's not supposed to be. Again, the use cases were quite interesting when we were finding out some pallets being in completely different premises than you expecting them to be, and the client could find them immediately. One of the specific use case that we are doing currently with our strategic partners, Travel Plastic, who is actually producing from residual waste plastic pallets, which are claimed to last 7 times longer than the standard wooden pallet, and by adding the smart tracker on top of them is allowing again to utilize and maximize the benefit of the solution as such. And over to you.
So the mentioned use cases were about the product journey, and now we will jump into the solution from customer journey point of view. Because when the goods enter the store in good condition, how Peter mentioned, we need to know more also about the client. With all the new technologies, we are now able to tell you who exactly is your client when he or she is in your store, and what is the behavior of that person. So what does it mean? Technically, in online world, you know the client, if you know if it's a woman or man, what age he is or she is. You can track the movement on the website and you can get information about his or her interest. And this valuable information you have about this client at one place. On top of that, we are able to monitor the same information about the customer on-prem, like meaning in physical store. With that said, you can improve, for example, customer experience significantly. You can, for example, rearrange the shop floor based on utilization. You can also do personalized advertisement and some additional features. Because the future of the physical stores in these days is to create like personalized and great customer experience. Because this experience can the customer never experience in online world. So all of that is possible with the right data that can be extracted from the IoT sensors.
And a final example that we have prepared for today, we are again back to interaction in between customers and products. And here we have basically three solutions. One is a smart shelf, which is basically an application of a patented technology of printed sensors on a pad, which is then applied directly on your existing shelving system. So again, the non-invasive installation here is a really important one. And you can monitor the occupancy of products in real time. So it creates the heat maps of which products are being sold in time. You can cross-check those data with campaigns, with the product mix that you have out there. And basically providing an additional information that normally the clients have a sales data or marketing data, but like where exactly the product got sold from, what time, which products are flying off the shelves more, and so on. So really the opportunity here for the data insight you can get out of it is almost never ending. And next to it we have the smart scales. We have two sizes. One of them at the moment is made for Europalette, and the accuracy of measuring is down to 500 grams. The other one, which is 40 centimeters by 60 centimeters, which complies with majority of the POS stands and campaigns on the market at the moment, and this one can measure down to 100 grams accuracy. So pretty much with all these use cases, you can go again to the level of individual products. What's the advantage of the scales, that you can shift them around the store to really find out where and how your customers interact with the products, and again cross-check it with any campaigns, with the pricing structure. You can compare different locations, you can compare different locations within the store, or even geographically within your different store formats and so on. So all these insights at the end kind of delivering, I would say, better decision on product mix, on a campaign, on marketing, which ultimately leads to higher sales and return on investment for your secondary display positioning. And at the end of the day also should be leading to save costs or some process inefficiencies improvements, because the notifications you can set up again from the cloud that will be basically maybe connected to expiry date or running out of stock on a shop floor, so you do not miss on any sales opportunities out there. And maybe just to be a bit practical at the end, we understand that some of the IoT solutions, even though I believe we have showed you that that it's not that difficult to implement, but the evolution of the connectivity and battery devices, non-invasive installation, that all is helping for let's say rapid digitalization via IoT. But still we understand that it is about internal buying, it is about the internal processes which might be in the company, and a few maybe recommendations or our experience. The first one, impact versus effort, because usually with any innovation it's really important that you verify the benefits pretty quickly. But on the other hand, we tend to select big projects which have big impacts but usually require a lot of effort and then quite a lot of high cost and also resources to make it happen. So from our experience, we would suggest to select projects which are, let's say, rather lower in effort and let's say medium impact, but because of quick and faster implementation, those can actually prove to deliver the biggest impact at the end. What we might complementary, do not change the established processes which work. As we have shown, IoT can be an added value. It could be complementary to existing solutions, and we can always decide to plug it in on a later stage whilst the benefits actually prove through the proof of concept or initial installations. And an implementation partner should be, again, understand that there could be technical barriers. So there is important from the beginning to consider whatever tools you already have in a company, either in Microsoft, Google, whatever it could be, and think how develop the solution so it already counts with integration on the later stage. And also, of course, the security and risk management, because we can run it in a separate network, so your sensitive company data might not get interfered, and also the POC could be run separately parallel. So we first get the buy-in internally, we prove the concept, and then we can integrate it on a later stage. So again, trying to think how we can work together to take away all the robots which can be standing in a way to make it happen. I think it takes us to the final part of the presentation.
Yeah, so in case you have your own ideas, do not hesitate to share them with us. Indeed, it can be very challenging. It may take some time to define the issue or get the right ideas and data, but let's think big, start with the small steps and go fast. Okay. So, all right, so thank you for your participation, and I would like to encourage you to schedule one-to-one session with us. And if you have any further questions or concerns, we will be more than happy to discuss further. So, any question?
Yeah, Adela, we have the questions, which is really good. So I will.
We cannot hear you. I don't know if it's powerful.
Hopefully you will hear me. Can you hear me now?
So we cannot hear you. I don't know if it's a problem just at our side.
I think it's just on your side. Maybe we just.
Yeah, it's working now. Yeah.
Ah, perfect. So I will share with you the first question. Can you share specific examples of what the retail smart scale solution has brought to the customer? I know you spent some time on that, so if you can say really a practical one.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Martin. I mean, in a way, the use cases that we did with the pallets and circularity was really nice to first of all see that it leads to much more of a circulation of the actual secondary packaging, and it's driving the reusage because whilst you have a data, you can improve all your supply chain through the data that you're getting. So there is an additional motivation for those. And you were even finding, as I said, the pallet in completely different premises than they were supposed to. Sometimes, and what happened behind that, we don't want to know. But it was sometimes funny stories when you were supposed to find those pallets somewhere and they were completely different. And that's happening in real world. And from the retail environments, we know that our clients. To reflect on that. So there was a full control of whatever is happening, and you know exactly where your products are, where your goods are, and what's happening. From the retail perspective, the clients were really testing different product mixes, different campaigns, different spots within the store. So at the entrance, buy drinks area, buy till roll at the back of the store, and checking on how clients will respond, where they will have bigger sales. They were changing pricing structures and all of that. So based on all this, they actually have a really valuable data. And at the moment, they are adjusting the presence of individual products, the product mix on the market, the campaigns that they're running. I would say that the unique set of information they never had before, and what the feedback from the client is that they used to do a lot of these decisions based on kind of feeling. At the moment, they have it backed it up by data.
Yeah, thank you very much for the answer. I mark it down, and we have one more, which is kind of interesting. I think we still have time for that. What about IoT network coverage within Europe? are there any differences? I mean, like, I imagine Slovakia, Czech Republic, England, etc. It's not my question, even though the question was raised by Martin.
Okay. Yes.
Good one.
Good question. Yeah. So the coverage it depends on the IoT network technology, because in Europe we have several network technologies. For example, narrowband IoT. We have also here Sigfox or LoRa or some other networks. But overall, we can say that the coverage is improving pretty fast. For example, with Sigfox network in West Europe, we can track the shipments, how Peter mentioned, and we see the complete trajectory, for example, from Germany to France. And in Eastern Europe, the coverage is not so great. It's not a whole coverage, but we are talking with the network providers and we are extending the coverage based on the use case. So basically, we can say that the network coverage is pretty strong in Europe.
All right. Yeah, well, I think we don't have any more questions. Yeah, well, there was one, but it's like we passed it a little bit. It's like, what does yes refer to one, to the first poll question? I'll just show it here. Maybe it's good to explain, yeah? Like the first poll question was, do you make business decisions only based on internal data sources from your company systems, or do you use also external data sources like IoT? Maybe explain us what is the difference, yeah? Like how the companies were working just with the internal data, and what is the new way of doing it with the IoT?
So maybe it comes back exactly to the first question you were asking. So what the clients actually getting out of it? So they have, for example, when we talk about the retail space, they have a data from the sales. So they know how many units they sold per day, but they never knew if they sold the product from the secondary placement, from standard racking system, from back of the store, if the bought it from the fridge, if the client bought it from the POS stand, in which location of the store, how does it correlate to the marketing campaign, for example. So all those data is something they can get from these IoT solutions and basically integrate them with whatever data they have from the marketing campaigns, sales data, the time of the day, when are the peaks, what kind of customers are interacting with their products and so on. So all those data is something that, from my perspective, was never really available on the markets to have, because normally you just get a data from the sales. But all these additional can really help, as I say, make the database decision.
Yeah. Adela, Peter, it was really brilliant session. Thank you very much for that.